previous year's allocation and must be automatically and regularly released after congressional approval. President Marcos said the new law would allow funds to be disbursed to the judiciary automatically. The chief executive said the fund would allow the SC to reorganize offices, hire staff faster, and decentralize operations to bring services closer to the people.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang in review. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Monday launched sumbongsapangulo.ph, an online platform designed to provide the public with access to information on flood control projects nationwide while allowing citizens to report any irregularities. In a press briefing in Malacañang, the President said citizen participation is crucial in detecting anomalies and ensuring transparency in the implementation of the 545 billion peso flood control program since mid-July 2022 when his term started. President Marcos urged Filipinos to submit complaints, feedback, and observations through the website, assuring that he himself will read each one. The launch of the reporting platform follows the Chief Executive's directive in his fourth State of the Nation address to audit flood control projects as the government vowed to improve transparency and ensure accountability in infrastructure spending.
We have received the list from the PWH. I think, have put it into a form that is accessible to the public, and most importantly, it is in a form that the public can use so that they can first identify the projects, the flood control projects that are within their area, within their barangay, so that they can actually go and look at it. Or if they already have information, they can tell us about it. Kung maganda yung naging project, kung hindi maganda yung naging project, bakit hindi maganda yung naging project, ano naging problema, etc., etc. And that's what the present website is supposed to do. Now, this is the third iteration of this website. We've been working on it. Kahit nung nasa India kami, we were already working on it. And it was, this is the final form of it. And we are very much open to suggestions. If the people want us to put more info or other info onto the website, we will certainly do that.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Monday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. welcomed San Miguel Corporation or SMC Chairman and Chief Executive Officer Ramon Ang's offer to help address flooding in Metro Manila, saying private sector participation is vital in national development. Speaking to reporters in Malacañang, the President said Ang had previously briefed him on the proposal, which involves desilting waterways in the National Capital Region or NCR. President Marcos noted, however, that the plan would only succeed if local government units or LGUs address the garbage problem that clogs drainage and waterways. The chief executive added that the government would study the proposal closely, emphasizing that Ang's track record in completing infrastructure projects on time makes the offer credible. President Marcos also welcomed Senator Panfilo Lacson's suggestion to tap other tycoons for disaster mitigation initiatives, saying many of the country's business leaders have historically offered help for major development efforts.
This is why We have, this is the reason why from the very beginning I always said the private sector needs to be part of everything of our national development. Hindi pwedeng ganun. Now, yung proposal ni Ramon Ang is also certainly very welcome. Because, we've seen his projects. Maganda naman ang mga nagiging resulta. He's able to bring it in on time. And, the man is an engineer. So I'm sure he has pinag-aralan niya na mabuti yan. He's actually given me already this briefing before. And however, there is still another side to his proposal. And the other side of his proposal, I will fix the flooding problem. I will desilt the areas here in Metro Manila anyway. But the mayors, the LGUs have to take care of the garbage problem. It simply doesn't work until we have a solution to the garbage problem. We have a proposal for waste to energy solution in Manila, City of Manila. So baka naman, so that I think that will go on, but that's only for Manila. So itutuloy natin, titingnan natin kung magandang lumabas doon. And if that's the case, then that's what we will do with other parts of at least Metro Manila sa una or the other urban areas na nababaha. So again, anybody who wants to help, it's a welcome offer. Siyempre, you do not, you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Kung handa silang tumulong, tumutulong. And this is not anything new. The so-called taipans of the country, pagka meron tayong gustong gawin, nag-offer talaga sila. Kaya't marami silang naitutulong. So I will certainly look at this proposal of Ramon very, very closely and see if it's actually, if we can do it. Like I said, it will require that coordination between LGUs and I guess San Miguel, whatever it is, what part it is that they want to play. Pero nagdi-desilt na siya. Pasig River, dinidesilt na niya. So alam niya talaga yon. So anyway, that's something that that's very welcome, as I said. Any offers of help are always welcome.
Then R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Still on Monday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. dismissed China's accusation that his recent remarks on the possible Taiwan conflict amounted to playing with fire, reaffirming the Philippines' resolve to defend its territory amid rising tensions in the West Philippine Sea, or WPS. In a press briefing at Malacañang, the president defended his remarks while on a state visit to India last week, where he said the Philippines would inevitably be affected in the event of a military conflict between China and the United States over Taiwan. President Marcos cited the country's geographic proximity and the presence of thousands of Filipino workers on the self-rule island. The remark has since drawn the ire of China. The chief executive underscored the inevitability of Philippine involvement should a war break out over Taiwan. President Marcos Jr. warned that the Philippines must be prepared in the event of China's attack on Taiwan. There are an estimated 160,000 overseas Filipino workers, or OFWs, in Taiwan, many of whom are employed in electronics factories and domestic work. The Philippines has historically maintained a one-China policy while sustaining robust economic and people-to-people ties with Taiwan. Despite the recent increase in Chinese naval activity, President Marcos stressed that the Philippines has no plans to back down. This follows the report of yet another incident in Ayungin Shoal between Philippine and Chinese vessels. The president reiterated the administration's stance that it seeks no confrontation but was forced to beef up its defense and capability because of the tensions in the disputed areas.
I don't know what they're talking about. Playing with fire? I was just stating facts. there, we do not want to go to war. But I think if there is a war over Taiwan, we will be drawn. Hihilain tayo sa aya't gusto natin. Kicking and screaming. We will be drawn and dragged into that mess. Whatever you do, come on, wag na tayong hope. I love this saying, hope is not a plan. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope it doesn't. But if it does, we have to plan for it already. And that's what I was talking about. How do we get our people out? How do we protect kung magkagulo, gera na nga dito. Malapit na sa atin. Anong gagawin natin? Okay lang, normal lang yan. Pababayaan na lang natin. Kung sino pasok labas dito sa atin. Hindi naman pwede yun. So we'll have to do something. So inevitably, despite our fervent wish to avoid any confrontation with anybody anywhere, war over Taiwan will drag the Philippines kicking and screaming into the conflict. That is what I was trying to say. That's what I don't understand. And I think because of the narrative coming out about playing with fire and being provocative and all of that, kaya nagka-increase ng activity doon sa West Philippine Sea. But what special instructions I have? We don't have any special instructions. Sanay na tayo rito. You know, it is not a one thing na there's no silver bullet na pag pinaputok mo, solve lahat ang problema mo. What will happen here is we will continue to be present. We will continue to defend our territory. We will continue to exercise our sovereign rights. And despite any opposition from anyone, we will continue to do that, as we have done in the past 3 years.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday expressed confidence that the Philippine National Police, or PNP, is on its right track toward regaining public trust, citing lower crime rates and new operational capabilities, while stressing that public perception is as important as statistics. Speaking during the 124th Police Service Anniversary celebration in Camp Crame, Quezon City, President Marcos said the latest data showed that crime incidents from June 2024 to June 2025 decreased compared with the preceding period. The Commander-in-Chief cited the PNP's 5-minute response time strategy through the revitalized Emergency 911 hotline, which he said has enabled police to respond to thousands of calls for assistance, interventions, and even search and rescue.
But we recognize that numbers alone cannot allay the fears of our people. As public servants, we do not ask people to celebrate statistics if their experiences tell a different story. And that's why we must regain the trust of the public through more decisive and responsive actions. And I believe the PNP is now on its right track. This year, the PNP marks several critical milestones, including the 5-minute response time strategy. 5 minutes. Just a relatively small window of time, but 5 minutes can mean the difference between safety and danger, even between life and death. Through the revitalized Emergency 911 hotline, the PNP responded to thousands of emergency calls, from police assistance to police interventions and even search and rescue. However, the challenge now is to ensure that, rain or shine, during ordinary days, and more so in times of crisis, there are people who will be ready to answer our people's call for help.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Tuesday, Malacañang said Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. will spare no one in the investigation into the anomalous flood control projects in the country. During a press briefing, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the Marcos administration will ensure that sanctions will be meted out to contractors or even anyone close to him found involved in irregularities in flood mitigation projects. Castro said the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, will not be part of the investigating body, stressing that the agency's role in the ongoing investigation is limited to providing information on the flood control projects. Despite the alarming patterns in the awarding of flood control projects, DPWH Secretary Manuel Bonoan continues to enjoy the trust and confidence of President Marcos.
Kahit malapit sa puso, kahit kaibigan, wala pong sisinuhin ng Pangulo. Mananagot ang dapat managot. At sa pag-iimbestiga po, hindi naman po kasama mismo ang DPWH. Sila lamang po ang magbibigay, magpo-provide ng mga information, ng mga records. Dahil po ang siyang mag-iimbestiga rito po ay pangungunahan po ng Regional Project Monitoring Committees. At ang oversight team po ay ang Department of Economy, Planning and Development o DepDev Regional Director, sila yung chair. Department of DBM, Regional Director ang co-chair, DILG, Regional Director, at ang OPPMS, Regional Team Leader. At maaari magkaroon din from the non-government or people's organization as applicable. So ang gagawin po nila, unang-una, ay site inspection, recording, at saka po magre-report in consolidation. So lahat po ng naipon na records ng RPMC, isusumiti po ito sa DepDev at yung consolidated po ang siya mismong ibibigay po sa Pangulo.
Initial report, around 6,021 of the 9,855 flood control projects from July 2022 to May 2025 have a project of more than 350 billion pesos without specific details on the type of structures being built, repaired, or rehabilitated. Castro clarified that the 15 contracts will not be blacklisted pending the results of the investigation.
Hindi pa po. Sinabi lang po, yan lang po yung mga paunang impormasyon na ito yung medyo madaming mga projects na nakuha mula sa gobyerno. So titignan po natin, ang sabi naman po ng Pangulo, ang mga nireport na ito, di naman ibig sabihin, lahat yan ay maanomalya. Mayroon naman na magaganda na naging result na ginawa ng mga kontrakto na ito. So yan po ang sisimulang imbestigahan kung ang kanila, unang-una po, ang magiging basehan po ito ay kung existing ba yung project, pangalawa, operational ba, pangatlo, kung effective. So yun yung titignan. Una, ghost project ba yan o existing? Kung existing man, operational ba, gumagana ba? O kung gumagana ba, epektibo ba para sa pag-control ng baha?
Dateline Malacañang.
Still on Tuesday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. received the 2026 National Expenditure Program, or NEP, in a ceremony at Malacañang Palace in Manila. Department of Budget and Management, or DBM Secretary Amena Pangandaman, handed over the 2026 NEP to the President. According to government budget data made public Wednesday, the top three sectors have the same ranking as in the 2025 NEP. The proposed national budget for next year amounts to 6.793 trillion pesos, 7.4% higher than the enacted 2025 budget. The education sector will get 928.5 billion peso allocation. Public Works will receive 881.3 billion pesos, while the health sector gets 320.5 billion pesos in allocation. Defense moved up to fourth place with 299.3 billion, overtaking the interior and local government sector, which slid to fifth with 287.5 billion billion pesos. Agriculture rose to 6th place with 239.2 billion pesos, switching spots with social welfare, now 7th with 227 billion. Transportation and the judiciary kept their 8th and 9th positions with 198.6 billion and 67.9 billion pesos respectively, while labor and employment at 55.2 billion pesos entered the top 10 in place of the justice sector. The DBM, in a budget briefer, said the 2026 NEP aims to sustain the country's economic growth momentum while strengthening commitment to investing in the Filipino people. In his fourth State of the Nation address, President Marcos Jr. reiterated that he would veto the 2026 General Appropriations Bill if it is not aligned with the NEP, stressing that no budget will be approved unless it supports the administration's development agenda. The NEP will serve as lawmakers' basis in crafting the General Appropriations Bill.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Wednesday bared his plan to establish 10 new fish ports with state-of-the-art facilities and equipment in the country as part of efforts to develop the agri-fishery sector and attain food security. The president made the commitment as he led the inauguration of the rehabilitated and improved Philippine Fisheries Development Authority Iloilo Fish Port Complex or PFDA-IFPC in Tanza Baybay Town, Iloilo City. In his speech, President Marcos cited the importance of building new fish ports with key structures, such as cold storage facilities, to enhance operational efficiency and address logistics issues. President Marcos said the Philippines has to keep up with its neighboring countries like Thailand and Vietnam, which have adopted a similar system to improve the fisheries sector, become globally competitive, and boost food production. The chief executive said the new fish ports would benefit more than 2 million Filipino fishermen as they are expected to earn higher incomes.
Kaya inaayos natin itong mga fish port na ganito para dito pwedeng isakay kagad, hindi na kailangan isakay sa truck tapos kung saan-saan padadalhin, napakalaki ang bayad ng transportasyon. Kaya ito ay sa aking palagay ay isa sa pinakamahalaga na aming gagawin sa Department of Agriculture. 10 pa ito, 10 ang itatayo pa natin na ganito at tuloy sa buong bansa. Dahil kailangan din, pag tinitignan natin ang ginagawa ng mga ibang bansa, kagaya ng mga Thailand, kagaya ng Vietnam, kagaya ng mga ibang bansa na nakapaligid sa atin, ay napakaganda ang kanilang sistema. Kaya't mahirap makipagkompetisyon sa kanila kung hindi natin ayusin ang sistema natin. Babaan ang presyo ng production, babaan ang presyo ng transportasyon, pagandahin ang pagdala ng ating mga produkto para maipagbili. At yung value added, ika nga, ay maiiwan sa mangingisda, maiiwan sa magsasaka. Yun po ang konsepto namin para yung imbis na may binabayaran na middleman, kung ano yung binabayad na ninyo sa middleman, hindi na kailangan, nasa sa inyo na yun. Kaya may iwan yung kita sa inyo, hindi na mapupunta sa labas pa ng Iloilo, mapupunta kung saan-saan pang malalaking mga negosyante.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Wednesday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. signed Republic Act No. 12232, postponing the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections or BSKE from December 2025 to November of 2026 and fixing the term of office of village and youth officials at 4 years. Under the new law, no barangay official may serve more than 3 consecutive terms in the same position, while SK officials may serve only 1 term. The next BSKE will be held on the first Monday of November 2026 and every 4 years thereafter, with winners assuming office on December 1st following the elections. Incumbent officials will remain in a holdover capacity unless removed or suspended, but those serving their 3rd consecutive term will be barred from seeking re-election in 2026. The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, is mandated to issue implementing rules within 90 days of the law's effectivity. President Marcos earlier said he supports the postponement of the village polls, citing the need for the government to focus on the first-ever parliamentary elections in the Bangsamoro region. The country's last BSKE was held on October 30th, 2023.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Thursday signed into law Republic Act, or RA 12233, or the Judiciary Fiscal Autonomy Act, a measure defining the scope and extent of the judiciary's fiscal independence as a co-equal branch of government. The new law, signed in a ceremony in Malacañang before lawmakers and Supreme Court or SC officials and personnel, affirms the constitutional provision that the judiciary's budget cannot be reduced below the previous year's allocation and must be automatically and regularly released after congressional approval. President Marcos said the new law would allow funds to be disbursed to the judiciary automatically. The chief executive said the fund would allow the SC to reorganize offices, hire staff faster, and decentralize operations to bring services closer to the people. Congress ratified the final version of the bill, a consolidation of Senate Bill No. 2982 and House Bill No. 11358 on June 11th, 2025.
Democracy can only take root when every Filipino is certain that the law is the same for all, and that those who create, enforce, and interpret these laws do so without fear, without favor, and without anyone holding them by the purse strings. Today, through the signing of the Judicial Fiscal Autonomy Act, we are putting safeguards in place so that the judiciary can work more efficiently and more independently. The Chief Justice is authorized to augment any item and modify through on-bank resolutions the allotment of funds within the bounds of the law to where they are most needed, whether that goes to hiring more personnel, repairing courtrooms, advancing their systems to keep up with their times. We are also establishing a judiciary trust fund so the courts can tap their collected funds to address urgent needs. The Supreme Court can reorganize its offices, hire staff faster, and bring services closer to the people by decentralizing operations. This law further strengthens the commitment of the executive to work alongside the judiciary as a co-equal branch of government. We recognize that each of us has a unique role, and yet we also have a shared responsibility to uplift Filipino people. Above all, let us always remember that even our smallest decisions can shape the lives of very many people and the future of the nation.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and South Korean President Lee Jae-myung have reaffirmed the strong strategic partnership between the Philippines and South Korea, pledging closer cooperation in trade, defense, and cultural exchanges. In a news release Friday, the Presidential Communications Office, or PCO, said the commitment was made during the President's phone call with Lee on Thursday. The PCO said the two leaders reaffirmed their commitment to deepening the strategic partnership, emphasizing cooperation in key areas such as trade and investment, defense and security, and people-to-people ties. President Marcos Jr. looked forward to meeting Lee at the 2025 Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, which South Korea will host later this year. Lee expressed support for stronger cooperation between South Korea and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, as the Philippines prepares to assume the regional bloc's chairship in 2026. The Philippines and South Korea established diplomatic relations on March 3, 1949, marking 76 years of formal ties in 2025. Relations between the two countries were elevated through the joint declaration on the establishment of a strategic partnership on October 7, 2024, reflecting a shared commitment to enhance cooperation across key sectors, including political, security, economic, and socio-cultural.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service is live on audio streaming. Just download Evox PBS Receiver on your Google Play Store or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang in Review. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.